History of Vikings: How they spread across Europe. Vikings versus Muslims. Hi there, history buffs. The fascinating history of the Vikings and their astounding expansion throughout Europe is our focus as we set sail on an exciting adventure today. The meeting of the Vikings and the Muslims will forever change the course of history. It's me, your host, and we're about to get started on History of the Vikings: How they spread across Europe. The Vikings' legendary maritime prowess and bold adventures etched their names permanently into the annals of time. These brave warriors, who had their roots in Scandinavia, set out on daring expeditions that took them all across the European continent. Their interactions with Muslims would alter the future of both cultures. During the Viking Age, which began in the late 8th century and ended in the 11th, the Vikings rapidly expanded their sphere of influence. Their longships were so technologically sophisticated that they could travel safely over dangerous seas, discover new territories, and open up new trade routes. The Vikings had a noticeable presence wherever they went, from the Norwegian fjords to the English coast. However, it wasn't the end of their aspirations. When the Vikings traveled south, they came face to face with the complex Islamic cultures of the Mediterranean. The Vikings and the Muslims met many times, each time sparking a new round of tensions between the two groups. The Vikings, portrayed in popular culture as ruthless invaders, fought with Muslim regions in Al-Andalus on the Iberian Peninsula and expanded their attacks into the wider Mediterranean. Both the Vikings and the Muslims were profoundly affected by the Viking attacks along the beaches of modern-day Spain and Portugal. But the Vikings weren't only warriors. The contacts with the Muslims opened up several commercial and cultural avenues for them. Through their trading with Muslim merchants, the Vikings forged important economic connections. These meetings also served as a forum for the dissemination of information and the development of new techniques. The Vikings improved their sailing talents by learning Muslim methods of navigation. In a similar vein, the Muslims learned a lot about Viking shipbuilding and military tactics. With the passage of time, the Viking Age ended, and the Vikings evolved from raiders to settlers. The Vikings settled in prosperous towns in countries like Ireland, Scotland, and Normandy, where they eventually blended in with the native populations and left behind significant cultural influences. Despite the period's common association with bloodshed and conquest, it's important to remember the many ways in which Vikings and Muslims interacted. These interactions influenced both cultures and civilizations. They sewed together a patchwork of ideas that is still being felt today. The elaborate patterns of the Vikings' unique art style made their way into Islamic literature and metalwork, influencing the development of Islamic art. Muslims, on the other hand, taught Vikings how to grow rice and citrus fruits, which completely altered Viking settlements' original environments. It's worth noting that not every encounter between Vikings and Muslims ended in bloodshed. Sometimes they had diplomatic and commercial exchanges without violence. As an example of the mutual confidence and collaboration between the Vikings and the Byzantines, the Varangians acted as bodyguards for the Byzantine emperors. When we consider the Vikings' interactions with the Muslims, we see that their history is more nuanced than just one of conquest and conflict. It's a convoluted tale of international commerce, cultural contact, and frontier-breaking discovery. So, the next time you think of the Vikings, keep in mind that they traveled all the way across Europe and had some fateful run-ins with Muslims along the way. Their influence may still be seen today in the interwoven fabric of Viking and Muslim cultures. Our fascinating look at the rise and fall of the Viking Empire in Europe has come to an end. We hope you find this exploration of Viking and Muslim interactions fascinating. Please subscribe to our channel if you like this video and would like to see more interesting historical material. I, your host, am now signing off till next time.